Day 4 is in the wraps, and it's a bit of a theme here. It's a 1-0, 1-0 game, or a draw. That's the theme. Let's talk about the first game. So we have Sweden versus South Africa. And I think the interesting thing that we're seeing here is teams who underestimate pace and speed, because we saw this with England versus Haiti, where the speed really caught England off guard. And in this matchup, South Africa's speed was giving Sweden some problems, which ultimately caused that first goal for South Africa in that 48th minute. But Sweden was able to, bounce bounce the ship a little bit, gain a little bit moving forward, and able to get the equalizer, then win it in the 90th minute. These teams sure do love their dramatic finishes. And with that being the case, it does leave Sweden in a good spot, but South Africa being a squad that's able to go, we said this a couple days ago, I think the days of lopsided games are very much done. I mean, yes, we'll see that Zambia versus Japan matchup, but you also have to remember, they had a player, Zambia had a player hospitalized before the game. There's no telling what type of psyche that team was in, but I think if this World Cup is teaching us anything, parity, or at the very least, solid defensive work is negating a lot of this offensive prowess. Yes, there's a lot of injuries. We know this, but ultimately, it does seem as if that teams who are staying very well compact and defensive are able to really thwart the attacks of teams, and these bigger teams are struggling to really find some solutions to the defensive problems that they're being presented with. But Sweden gets it done, tops their group right now. We move on to the Netherlands and Portugal. This game was a interesting game where, again, Portugal doing all that they could to stay defensively sound, not to give up too much. But ultimately, again, 13th minute, Stephanie van der Graat gets the goal for the Netherlands. And though, the Portuguese had a few opportunities to break out, the Netherlands felt very much in control of this game. It does make you, think for the duration of this group. Maybe you have the U.S. and Vietnam. It does seem like it's the Netherlands and the U.S. in this group, this lovely Group E. But I think Portugal will give these teams, well, especially the U.S., a hard time, a good defensive struggle, a good push. And it's the same thing for South Africa in Group G. South Africa's pace has shown that they'll cause a lot of teams troubles. And I think after the first game, you're going to start to see some teams, hopefully, start to adjust based off of what is there and what could possibly happen. Because in this group, you have Italy and Argentina. And I think it's unfortunate South Africa can get away with a point at least here, because I still think they have a good shot to get out of this group. Argentina and Italy, on paper you would assume it's Italy, but I think South Africa can cause Italy some problems, especially with the pace that they bring off and through the middle. Their midfield to their wingers and striking line, they can cause a lot of problems to the back lines of these teams in this group. So I don't count out South Africa yet. Bayana, they are still there. They are definitely a team that can definitely cause problems. And let's move to the final game of the day. France versus Jamaica. All credit to the Reggae Girls for defending while staying very compact. I think their compactness really was able to cause France some problems, but not without their opportunities. I wouldn't call this necessarily a full defensive masterpiece, because when you concede 11 set pieces off corners, you're giving yourself a chance to defend, there's no doubt, but you're giving them the opportunity to bring 6'7" Wendy Reynal just to walk into the box and say, hey, I am the target. And watching this game, the ability of Wendy Reynal to get on the end of crosses, her ability to get at the end of crosses has always just been a marvelous thing to watch in games. And seeing her match up with Khadija Bunny Shaw in this game really was the matchup I was looking forward to. But you saw some interesting tactics with both sides, right? Jamaica was avoiding their right side, attacking, didn't want to get caught on the counter, and France was able to get some things down the middle. But again, this is one of those opportunities where I think if a team's going to play low block, and I said this after the Canada game, you're going to need someone to just start striking the ball from distance. You have to keep the defense a little bit more honest. They can move the ball there, but then once you got to the final third, the options were very much limited, if any. Diani from France had so many opportunities. Deflections, saves, crossbar, post, you name it, she hit it, but weren't able to convert. The big story I think coming out of this game is definitely going to be Bunny Shaw getting her second yellow, and that's a tackle you don't need to go in for. That's just a question that you have to understand the context of the game. You shouldn't even be going for that tackle, to be honest. And in doing so, now, thankfully they're playing Panama, but maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, depending on how you feel. But Panama with no Bunny Shaw definitely does change a bit of the dynamic of what this team can do. But man, that's a tackle. She was already on a yellow, and going in for a tackle, a lunging tackle, not even like she didn't get the ball. She only got Reynal. You can say it's soft, but that's textbook yellow for only catching the player and not getting the ball. So I think you have to be more aware in those types of situations. But a point each leaves you in a good spot, especially when you know that Brazil plays Panama next in that group, which means they're going to be tied for second. And with, again, Jamaica playing Panama in their second game, they could afford themselves to be in a very good position. They could be at the top of the group potentially if France is somehow able to get a result versus Brazil. So Jamaica could find themselves at the top of the group if they can get a result versus Panama, but then they'd have to get a result versus Brazil, and that is a much taller task. But day four is in the wraps. Winners from the Netherlands as well as Sweden. Guys, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below, and we go and we move.